know that we are the world's largest funding organization for mobility, but we also look into policy matters and into offering support mechanisms for higher education institutions. And the paper we are discussing today, the guidelines for student exchange, double, dual, joint degree programs, is one result of these efforts which we have taken over the last years to ease the cooperation between India and Germany. So this web talk today will give you insights into a new publication. We all have seen over the last couple of years that structured exchange programs are gaining momentum and importance in India and Germany. I think in Germany, we talked for a long time already about double degrees, joint degree programs, but with the guidelines of the University Grants Commission and the National Education Policy, this topic has now gained momentum in India. And it's one of the reasons why we came up with the publication and wanted to offer some information on these matters. This panel today aims to give you some insights into the publication. We will share some experiences from our distinguished panelists here on the panel, and we would like to give some first-hand information and guide you a bit through. And we would also like to share our learnings in a nutshell. So I think if you attend today's 1-hour session, you don't have to read the paper in detail, 40 pages, but nevertheless afterwards you can have a look into the paper. So please put your questions into the chat. We take them up during the discussions. And now I'm glad to briefly introduce our 4 panelists of today. So we have with us Solène Schranemann. She's the head of the Welcome Center and Incoming Services of the International Office at Leibniz University Hannover since 2022. And before that, she was in charge of international doctoral candidates and on the purpose of cotutelle procedures at the university. So she's our expert on cotutelle and on PhD matters here. And she's also one of the coordinating members of the Uni-Wind network, which is a cotutelle network in Germany, spanning over a couple of institutions. So warm greetings to Hannover, and glad to have you on the panel. Our second panelist is Susanne Krause. She is the head of the International Office Student and Career Services at the Hochschule of Hof, University of Applied Sciences, and she has a long-standing experience over 25 years in international university cooperation. And she's responsible for international partnerships and internationalization strategy. And I would like to highlight that the University of Applied Sciences Hof has a strong cooperation with India. They opened last year an office with a strong focus in Pune, but have been active over years in the Indian market and have long-standing experience. And she's also here as a representative of the Universities of Applied Sciences. So Susanne, a lot of greetings to Hof. Our third panelist is Dr. Ravikant Ranjan. He is an executive officer at the International Relations Office at the Institute of Technology in Rocky. He holds a PhD in molecular biochemistry, but then he changed a bit of his profession, and he's now an officer at the International Relations Office at IIT Rocky, where he takes care of international research project funding and grants, joint degree programs, and other related internationalization activities. He has been representing IIT Rocky in international outreach programs in the US, and he's currently also taking one of our DAAD courses on internationalization management. So a lot of greetings to you, Ravikant, and to Rocky. And last but not least, I'm glad that we are joined by Dr. Manish Jain. He is an associate professor at the School of Education Studies at Ambedkar University of Delhi in India. Ambedkar University is a central university, and his teaching and research interest lies at the intersection of history, politics, and social education to understand education in post-colonial societies, education policy, teacher education, social science curriculum, and citizenship education. And he's here also as an expert on the Indian system. So Manish, welcome to the panel, and greetings here in the neighborhood to Delhi. I would like to start a discussion a bit on the terminology of the paper. So when we started to discuss the paper, we saw immediately that there's a lot of terminology out there. So we're talking about student exchange programs, twinning programs, double, dual degree, joint degree, shared and joint study programs, cotutelle, joint supervision, and what else not. So the paper has a terminology chapter where we clearly explain the differences in the approach. Now, let me highlight for bachelor's and master's level that if we talk about Germany, we talk about double degree programs, and in India we would say dual degree, and these actually are study programs where 2 degrees are offered on a separate diploma. So that's the setup in general. Whereas on a joint degree, when we talk about this, then we talk about a joint degree, and the main difference is that the diploma is offered on one joint sheet of paper with the two logos of the institutions. Now, so then if we look into PhD, the things are even more complicated, as we came up with terms like cotutelle, joint supervision, joint and double degree. Maybe for the PhD, you could give a bit of an insight what we are talking about when we're taking these terms into consideration. So Len, over to you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the question of the wording is always a difficult question, and about cotutelle it's take a longer discussion. So we can summarize it this way. A cotutelle is a binational doctorate procedure. So we can also speak from joint or double doctorate program, but because there is a lot of misunderstanding on this purpose, most of the German university use the original French word, which is known in all the world. That's why we talk about cotutelle. The joint or double degree, it represents the kind of diploma that the doctoral candidate can receive at the end of the cotutelle. So a joint diploma is the same as for bachelor and master. You get one degree delivered by both universities, and double degree, each university delivers their own degree. On this purpose, most of the German university only deliver a double degree for PhD, because joint degree may need to have new doctoral regulation, which is much more complicated. And a joint supervision, this means the doctoral candidate get a supervisor in both universities, so in India and in Germany in our case, but only get a degree from his home university. I hope it made it clear.
So it starts from a joint supervision. It's the lowest level of integrating the two programs, so going to a cotutelle, and then the joint cotutelle would be the most complicated things to achieve. Yeah, all this you find in the publication in one chapter where we mirrored the two systems. We come back to that a bit later. But what does the publication offer in a first step is an overview on the Indian and German higher education system, which is quite a challenge to put this down into a nutshell. Now, Manish, you've been working with us on the paper. Maybe you could, for our Indian audience, shine a bit of light on what were your main learnings regarding the German higher education system from the working with the paper and in the groups. So if you take the Indian perspective and say, this was my main takeaway on the German system, what that would it be?
Yeah, so while like German system, India also has a federal system. But what, as I was reading and comparing, federal states means other than the central government, the state governments have a far greater role in higher education. While we also have state universities in India, but the role of central government is far less. Second, which is also very clear, is that there is a far greater autonomy both at the state level as well as at the state university levels, at the level of universities in states. So even though there are significant differences across states because each state makes its own laws regarding universities, but a focus on academic autonomy, governance, institutional plan is far more pronounced here. While in India, increasingly, one is noticing that the role of central government through funding and other things makes it a far more significant player.
Good. So takeaways is even though the system seems to be the same, we have quite structural challenges. We will come back a bit to the Indian system in a second, but let's stick for one moment to the German system. And Susanne, this question goes to you. So I think there's always a bit of a confusion from the Indian perspective about the difference of a university and a university of applied science. University of applied science often seen as lesser important universities. Maybe you could take this up and being at the University of Applied Science, maybe explain a bit what is the major difference, and and are these universities on the same level as technical universities or universities? Susanne, over to you.
Thank you, Katja. Yes, that's one of our experiences that we have worldwide representing universities of applied sciences, that often we are considered to be on a lower level than the universities, or how I would like to call them research universities in this context right now, because I think it eases a bit the understanding. So in Germany, we basically differentiate the two types of universities, research universities, and the universities of applied sciences. And whereas the universities, research universities, have their academic focus on research-based components in the teaching, already on undergraduate level, they are more theoretically oriented. And they focus on basic research. The universities of applied sciences follow a different approach. They emphasize on the practical application and on applied research. And this you can also see in the variety of the disciplines that are offered by either universities of applied sciences or the research universities. The research universities usually have a larger spectrum of study programs. Very many of them are comprehensive universities, and they are very strong in basic research. The universities of applied sciences have a focus on practice-oriented, more hands-on disciplines. Among those are engineering. Universities of applied sciences are very strong in offering engineering programs, and the majority of engineering graduates in Germany comes from universities of applied sciences. They offer business-related study programs, social work, health sciences, media and design, arts and crafts. So the more practical hands-on disciplines. You will not find medicine or teachers education, for example, at a University of Applied Sciences. But also, regarding the degrees, both types of universities offer bachelor's and master's degrees. PhDs are offered by the research universities, and universities of applied sciences mostly cannot confer their own PhDs, but they do so in cooperation with a research university. So at a University of Applied Sciences, we also have, as I have mentioned before, applied research. We have researchers working there, working on their PhD projects, and they do so under the supervision of a professor from the University of Applied Sciences and a professor from a research university. And then in the end, the doctoral degree will be conferred by the research university. But it is not a dead-end street. So even if you do research at the University of Applied Sciences, you have the opportunity to get a PhD, a doctoral degree. And also in some of the federal states, the universities of applied sciences who are strong in specific research areas can be granted the right to deliver their own PhD programs. So depending on the federal states, like in Bavaria, for example, since the beginning of this year, we have the right, some universities of applied sciences have been granted the right to deliver their own PhD programs. So these are the basic differences. What is important to understand is that we have a complementary university system, and this is what Katja mentioned in the beginning. It is not that one type is better than the other. It is just they follow a different academic approach, and it is not a ranking where the universities, the research universities, are better than the universities of applied sciences. The academic approach is different, focused more theoretically focused, more practice oriented on the other side. So depending on what kind of cooperation you're looking for, you may select one or the other university partner.
Yeah, but University of Applied Sciences, I mean, for the joint, for cotutelle PhD, maybe not not the first
No,
partner,
no,
but for bachelor master's degree, definitely universities of applied sciences are looking for double or for international cooperation, or would you say they are more regional focused?
exactly. For PhD, cotutelle, definitely research universities are the better match.
Yeah, but for bachelor masters working on an exchange program, there's a good fit into that. I see a lot of Germans in the audience. We immediately come to the Indian system, but maybe one final question on the German system, which we remark in our discussion, is that not everybody is clear on the way how to do a PhD in Germany, and we have not only the individual approach, which is there in India. So maybe, Solen, you could give us a short view into this, because I think this is important when you look into cotutelle and supervision, the two models, how one can go for a PhD in Germany.
Yeah, there is two ways to do a doctorate in Germany. The traditional one, it is a more common way, is the individual PhD. This means that the doctorate candidate have to look by himself for a supervisor, for financing, for a topic. So it requires a lot of autonomy, but it also have advantage. It is quite autonomous. It can do what he wants, we'll say it this way. But it required a lot of self-discipline because there is no training, no courses. You have to do is quite free to do his research his own way, but he have to motivate himself each time. So, okay, I have to finish, I have to complete my doctorate and not say, okay, I need one more year or something like that. And the other way, which is not, so there is much more such program as a structured program. Is really different because there is this intensive doctoral training and support. So there is not only one supervisor. Most of the time it's a research group with 2 or 3 professors, and there is a limited number of doctoral candidates. So depending on the research group, it could be 10, 15 something, and all the doctoral candidates are in a network. They have to complete some courses, some workshops. So it's much more structured. But there is a strict application process, and there is a limited time. So after 4 years, most of the times they have to be finished. So it's depending what is the best. The doctoral candidates have to show what is the best. If it's more in a structured program, or if they want to have more freedom, and then it's individual way, better for them.
But is a cotutelle possible in both of the systems, so an international, or is the individual the easier approach into that? What is your experience?
From my experience, it's easier for individual PhD because it's the freedom of the project. In the structured program, there is some international structured program where it's from the beginning on, it's planned to have cotutelle. And then the financing will also go this way. But if it's only for one person, an individual PhD is easier.
Okay, so setting up a program is then more for the structure. Okay, thanks for that. So all this information you find in the publication, we really made tables and try to bring it into a condensed narrow it down. Now, Manish, one can get lost in the Indian system from time to time. So when I arrived 4 years ago, I was confused. Deemed universities, affiliated colleges, central universities, state universities, institutions of national importance. I think that makes it sometimes a bit of difficult for those who want to enter a cooperation with an Indian university. So could you explain in a nutshell, and I know it's a challenge, the diverse Indian higher education landscape and what a German university needs in large to know about the different types of universities?
Yeah, thanks, Katya, for this question. I think we noticed that when we were working with German system, I'm just drawing comparison to help us. The focus was whether it was research or is it more applied or is it working in a specific area like medicine or teacher training, pedagogic. When we are coming to Indian system, though the present policy is talking about teaching universities or research universities, still the universities can be classified largely on 2 bases. One is who is funding them, okay, and who is controlling them. So its central university, as the name says, is a university which is funded by the central government. To use a German word, it will be through the Bund. Okay, and then they are funded by them, they are controlled by them, and all these are generally relatively well-resourced university, better funded universities. But these are also public universities. Okay. The second, what would be Lander universities, state universities, okay, which are funded by the provincial universities of India. There are 29 states, there are union territories. So it is possible that, say, for example, in Bengal, there may be a central university which is funded by the central government, and there are several state universities which are funded by the West Bengal government or the Maharashtra government, right? So these are two different type of public universities. The third kind of universities, which are also public university, but which are not in regular mode, which are in distance mode, are open universities, where a large number of Indian students who want to achieve higher education but cannot join a regular course. So these are also centrally funded, but also state funded, but these are distance mode universities where people come in briefly, they largely study on their own, they receive some study material. The others are deemed universities. They are also receiving funding from central university, but they have been largely autonomous. They had been established by some trust or by some philanthropic organizations. So they are deemed, means considered, and they can also give all kinds of degrees. Unlike Germany, there is no distinction between that only research universities can give. So central universities, state universities, deemed universities, open universities, all can give undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD degrees, right? Then there are some, especially after 2000s, a lot of private universities have opened in India, and they are largely self-financed universities. Okay. They are also regulated by certain norms of University Grants Commission, but their fees are much higher. Some very high elite private universities are also employing foreign scholars, and an elite section of Indian society is joining such universities. Then it is important to note, and this is a difference from the German system, that in India, a lot of undergraduate study happens in colleges, but colleges are not allowed to grant degrees. So the colleges are affiliated to a university. And this is the British model. This is a model which had developed during colonial period. So they are affiliated to the university. Their program are decided by the universities, but these colleges run themselves. And there could also be
I think we lost Manish. Might be back in a second. But I think that's a very important takeaway.
IITs, IIMs, which are themselves institutions on their own. But the new education policy is saying that several such institutions should also allow more disciplines to come in. But how does it actually happen? We'll have to see.
Thanks, Manish, for this brief overview. It's difficult. I think one of the main learnings was we have to look at the autonomous status of universities, if they are allowed to confer degrees. And Central University might face some restrictions and need some authority to approve international degrees, as an institute of national importance has a bit of more freedom in deciding. So I think that was. Yeah, so I think that was one of the main learnings when one looks for an Indian partner, one needs to have a clear idea how far the Indian partner can go on its own and when it needs the super approval from authorities from the University Grants Commission, for instance. We have a very interesting question in the chat, and I think that leads us slowly to double and dual and joint degrees. Is the question, does many German universities participate in the time QS ranking, as this is one of the requirements for double degree offering according to the University Grants Commission guidelines? Maybe Susanne, you can take up that question, as you have been authoring the German chapter, and we had a long discussion on that actually.
Yeah, we did have a long discussion on this, and the question is very good that you ask it. No, the problem exactly is that in Germany we don't have a tradition of rankings. The idea is to deliver a good quality and comparable quality of education all over the country. And you will not find very many German universities, and I would say none of the universities of applied sciences in the top places of the rankings as it is required by UGC for double, dual, joint degrees. So that actually is a problem. Which probably means that the German universities, if they want to enter such cooperation, they would have to look for those Indian institutions as partners who have more autonomy, like the institutes of national importance, or maybe even the private institutions.
Yeah, so I think that's a very important hint. So if you look, and you're not under the 1,000, no, it's the QS and times higher education, I think was ranked, then one needs to look for Indian institutions who are not bound completely 100% to the University Grants Commission regulations which are out there. But there are a couple of them. The Indian system has more than 43,000 higher education institutions. I'm quite sure one finds a good partner. Now let's look, so the publication gives an overview on degrees, on credit transfer systems, and so on. We will not go into detail on everything here, but we tried to compile the information which is there as per September 2023. I mean, the systems at the moment is changing, but that's why we also went for an online publication, so we will keep updating also the publication. Now let's look a bit into bachelor master's level and twinning exchange double dual degrees. Ravikant, the IT Rookie recently established a double master degree with a university in Taiwan. Why we look with a university in Taiwan in this round here is because at the moment in India we don't see a single double joint degree on bachelor master's level put in or implemented. There are a couple on the run on implementation. So what were the challenges you faced setting up the program, and what would you expect from the German context, the challenges in facing you would face in setting up a, let's say, a double master degree with a German university?
Yeah, hi. So yes, to set up a joint or dual degree program, there are challenges based on requirement of each of universities, because they are getting certificate or degree from each participating universities. So student has to fulfill the criteria, as well as they have to enroll to their program when they go there. So differences between academic calendar, it's basically putting problems not just for dual or joint degree programs, as well as exchange programs. So while setting up this program, that should be addressed before these things are being set up. If there is a willingness, people can find a way to mitigate these kind of issues, because there are certain gap between 2 semesters at both sides. So that period can serve as a cushioning phase, where when they are going there, perhaps they can finish their here early or leave their join different institution, partner institution later on. But that becomes a problem when their courses start early. So for joint or dual PhD program, it can be easy because they don't have to undergo or learn the courses there. But for master's or bachelor's program, it can be an issue. So that should be considered before setting up or before this kind of discussion takes place. Then, of course, faculty members or departments, faculty who are offering these kind of courses, there should be course mapping between both sides. So the departments or faculty who are going under this joint or dual program, there should be course matching, because the students who are enrolling to this program don't miss the part of courses when they are traveling or integrating to a university in partner university. They should be at par with a student who are at home university. So this courses matching should be there. So they are learning something new, but as well as some kind of parity is in courses. So what we call as course mapping should be there. And then, of course, after running this program, that aspect is clearly visible, which is financial aspect. In this program, of course, students don't need to pay tuition fee, but still they need to pay for registration of fees when they visit to partner institution. So that registration fee can be substantial depending upon the financial condition of a student. So that should be addressed. Some kind of scholarship or some tuition fee waiver is there, but registration fee and that kind aspect can be addressed. And before this program starts, because once program starts, there is no turning back. So we should take care of this kind of aspects. And many things have been discussed. The power distance between academic structure. So all these stakeholders in this program are in loop. They are aware of this program, so they are supportive of this program. And I have seen for this kind of setting up this kind of program, top-bottom approach is a bit useful, because once it comes from the top leadership that we should run this program, people get integrated to this kind of approach and they are supportive. Because for joint or degree program for PhD, it can be bottom-up approach. A lot of collaborations are there between faculty member of both sides. It can result into joint PhD program or dual PhD program. For master's program, little bit of top-bottom approach is top-down approach is required. So yeah, this is in a nutshell, and of course you will see everything in details in the program or publications, and that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ravikant. So I don't know if the German side would agree with the top-down approach. Susanne, looking into what we've discussed during the our discussions we had, and I mean, one has to pay a lot of attention to detail. That was one of my takeaway. So what would be your, from a German perspective, 3 recommendations when looking for setting up a double or joint degree on a bachelor master's level with an Indian university? So a bit the takeaways from our discussions, looking at the structural challenges which are there.
Well, I think Ravi has very well explained the challenges that are into that. So I would say my first recommendation would be to choose your partner well and be aware of the type of university partner in India you wish to collaborate with. We have discussed the differences in autonomy, and once you have chosen your university partner, make sure that you're aware of the fact that the process to develop and set up a dual or even a joint degree, if you go for that, may take some time. I think one of the biggest challenges is the different legal systems. So I would always recommend to start on a lower level, just really to get to know your partner very well. Start with student and faculty exchanges, become acquainted with the teaching approach, the credit system. Ravi has mentioned the enrollment procedures, the administrative processes, the academic calendar, before you take the next step. But on the other hand, as Ravi said, sometimes it is a top-bottom approach, and then it is the university management who takes such decisions. So I'd really try to get to know the partner as well as possible before you jump into the adventure of setting up a dual, double dual, or even a joint degree. I think, Katja, what you mentioned in the beginning in your introduction, what is very important is that you're really aware what you're talking about, and that the understanding for the definitions of what does the German side and what does the Indian side are talking about when we speak about a dual, a double, a twinning, and a joint degree. So what is our understanding? Do we have a common understanding? And also, what we have also already mentioned is that we have to be aware of the hurdles that are there. So the Indian partners, as already mentioned, must know that the German universities may not be found in the top positions of the rankings like required or requested in the UGC guidelines, and the German partners must take that into account too. So the selection of the partners may become limited and restricted. So we may also, from the German perspective, we may all be looking for the same partners, institutes of national importance. But of course, those are the ones who can choose their partners from all over the world. Another recommendation for the German partners, I find it quite challenging to select, to find the right or the right fit in India. And there's two ways how to assess the Indian universities. India has set up a university ranking under NAC, and also there's the NIRF system. So that is two hints where you can really try and have a first look and try to pick out the right partner and understand what the two partners, what the partner, where the partner may be ranked or located in the Indian system. But really, don't be too ambitious. Don't according to my experience, start on a lower level and build up the partnership and go from one level to the next. And secondly, be aware that it will take some time. Ravi, I don't know how long it has taken you to establish this.
So it took me almost 2 years, and meanwhile in between that we had change management also. So I had all that in the information, that be aware about change management or time expectation, that everybody is aware, and people who are now joining, they are aware about this, so that they don't find unaware about this part, and then you have to apprise them again or discuss everything again. So it took almost 2 years, but stakeholders are important to keep looping higher management, so that there is buffer. If somebody is leaving, of course, some other people are to catch up. They are supportive of those programs. But if there is willingness, once you get catch the attention or aspiration of each side, then people try to support whatever way possible. So make them their project own. Integrate them and keep them that it is their own project, not just one side of expectation.
Yeah, I would really highlight what Susanne said in the discussions, and we just had last week a discussions with 22 IITs. Use the right terminology. Very often one talks to, we set up a joint master degree, and then I asked, but is it a dual or is it a joint? Because for German universities, dual degree is a bit easier to realize. There's anyhow, and be aware, and I think you find this in the publication, that there are different requirements for these things. So how much time, for instance, to be spent at a partner institution in a joint degree, so 25% maybe of the study time, and they are this is well defined on the German and on the Indian side. And to run really through the legal facts, you might have to change your enrollment procedures if you go for a joint program. You might have to change your doctoral procedures, so that we come to that in a minute. You might have to re-accreditate your study programs in the German context. So be aware which model you select, not to end up in troubles aiming too high. As a joint program which has a new design curricula, for instance, in Germany, would need a re-accreditation. So sometimes it might be better to interlock existing programs and to start from there. So please be aware of that when you start. It was my learning, and read carefully through and reach the same understanding with your partner institution, that you talk about the same things when you're talking about these degree structures. There might be some federal states, even in Germany, where a super approval from the ministry is needed, like for instance in Thüringen or in Saarland. So also Germany is not the same all over. So then we talked a bit about PhD already, and I've seen in the Indo-German context that, or in the international context in India better, that normally one starts with if one looks into joint endeavors, structured exchange program, very often one starts with a PhD. Looking into our discussions, bringing the Indian and German system across, what would be your recommendations for setting up cotutelle between an Indian and German university, as this might be a first good step before one heads into a bachelor or master's program?
Yeah, that's true. It's cotutelle. It's a little bit easier than for bachelor and master double degrees. But even there, I would recommend to plan enough time, to be patient, and to be prepared to compromise. Because we have to, it's a long procedure where we have to, because both universities have to agree on the doctoral regulation that are applying for one doctoral candidate. And depending on how different the regulation are, it can take a long time, the long negotiation, and say, okay, well, it can do it this way, we can do it so. And there is some rules where German university can say, okay, we don't care, we are flexible, but there is some which are mandatory, and it is the same for India. And then we have to see, okay, what can be done. So yeah, it's a lot of compromise and negotiation, so it'll be a long time. And the UGC guideline also required MOU, which is not a requirement in Germany, but it's from the Indian side. So this means before we can start a cotutelle agreement, we first need an MOU. So if the university don't have an MOU, we have to start with this, which is another legal contract, and then we can start with the cotutelle. So that's really need a long time. And but for the cotutelle negotiation, you plan a lot of cotutelle exchange. What can be done is we agree on a framework agreement. This means we have one agreement for numerous cotutelle, and for each new cotutelle, we only use the appendix. So it's making the old procedure faster, because we make the negotiation once and then we can use it for many doctorate candidates. But yes, plan a long time procedure and be patient.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know that the PhD procedures are on faculty level in Germany, and that negotiating with one faculty in chemistry, for instance, or department in chemistry, might not to lead to the same conclusions than negotiating with the other department for biology or for mechanical engineering, as this is not centralized in German university. I think that's really important. One looks that, let's say I settled it up as one department, it doesn't mean automatically, if the university does not have a central regulation, that the same rules apply to the other department. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. The German university are trying to make the doctoral regulation quite similar, but for each case, for each new doctoral cotutelle, I have to check, okay, what are the regulations of the faculty, and it can change. So yes, it's a lot of details that must be checked each time.
Yeah, and that it takes a lot of details. You will see in the publication, I think we have around about 15 pages of tables. Where we narrow down the main things. It's not exhaustive. I really would like to say this, but it gives you a first impression on where to head, and to gives you first a bit of guidance. There is a question, Manish, in the chat on NEP and credit transfers, and I think that's a very interesting question. So the question is if the institutions like the affiliated Indian universities, central universities, need more support to set it up, as there is not a credit transfer system yet in place. Also, this is promised and this is implemented at the moment. So are the two systems a good fit? And what could you say about credit transfer and how to bring that across in double and joint degree programs? Manish.
Yeah, I think credit transfer will happen over a period, because constantly there is a push for greater internationalization in the policy. But at the same time, this is also, as has been asked earlier, it is tied up with three things. A, that institutional ranking about which we have already discussed. B, the question of institutional autonomy and processes taking place about which Ravi Ranjan talked about. And this involves multiple lines of permissions. We have experienced both kinds of things at our university. Ours is a state university, where earlier we had Erasmus Mundus and Baden-Württemberg start grant. So we had BWS plus grant and we had Erasmus plus grant, under which our students uh, for an entire semester to Ludwigsburg University of Education, Pädagogische Hochschule Ludwigsburg. Okay, and we developed a process of equivalence of credits. So the European system ECTS. So through our university system, we took it through, and then how many credits could be transferred, they actually showed on their transcript. But later on, when it came to certain renewals, and even with in terms of finding an MOU with England University of Sussex, we found it very difficult to do this. So I would say that as you are looking in terms of fit, I would say more than along with the system, it is also institutions, and as Ravi and Susanna were saying, willingness of the people there to invest. We have been in this partnership for about, I think, more than 7 years. And both the students, they recently, last year in May also, we had summer school. So if faculty feels that there is a lot of learning for our students and us together, and then the thing which Ravi was saying, that a sense of ownership, then you are sometimes, even if things don't always materialize, you go on because you feel there is something to learn. It's like a human relationship which has its ups and downs, but if you feel that it is a potential, it is promising, you still don't leave it halfway. But at the same time, it can be frustrating as well. I will also say that since there are also various kinds of institutions, so besides national institutions and private universities, within private universities also depends on which discipline you are working. In central government universities, they are not only of good ranking, but they also have very good researches. Some state universities are also very good. So they may require time and more energy, but that can also be worked upon. As I would say, the key will be that what is our common interest? If that interest meets, like we look when we are looking for a PhD supervisor, you not only look at the institution, you also look at the person with whom you wish to do PhD. So that may also help.
Yeah, I think a good hint, not just run for those institutions who are well known, like the 5 older IITs or the university, the excellence universities in Germany have a broader outlook and find a good fit for your university. I think we have Susanna, one question in the chat. So what are the requirements expected by German universities when they want to establish a collaborative partnership? I think that comes from the background in my discussions here in India, where a lot of Indian institutions want a partnership and really forward, and then there's a certain, so that they find it sometimes difficult not to find a German partner. So what are the requirements, or what you would look into if you would head for a new partnership? What would be your basic requirements from an Indian institution?
I think there's one formal requirement that needs to be fulfilled by the Indian institution. We have a database, a German-wide database, so which is done by the Standing Conference of the State Ministers of Education, and they collect the information on the status of the Indian institution. So it has to be a recognized Indian institution. So that is the formal criterion that we all address first, as a first step, addressing this database to get some information about the formal status of the Indian institution. And that the rest, I would say, is is up to each individual German University of Applied Sciences. So we are autonomous institutions, and we are setting up our own internationalization strategies. And it is very individual, may differ from university to university, what they expect from their partners or what they are searching for. So in our case, being a University of Applied Sciences, we are interested in first of all in student exchanges, faculty exchanges, in broadening the horizon of our students and getting in good quality Indian students. So that is what we are firstly looking after, and as we are University of Applied Sciences, so practice orientation is important. We are not necessarily looking for institutions who are highly ranked thanks to their research activities. Professional, we're looking for internship opportunities for our students, and other like technical universities, research universities. They may be eager to find partners, to identify partners for research projects. So the difficulty for Indian institutions really is to find an institution which shares your interests, as it is very individual. We don't have any official ministry or any other state institution telling us as how we should set up our internationalization strategies. So that is really purely individual, which makes it difficult. And also, I mean, if you just look at the sheer numbers, India has what I've learned from Manish, about 40,000 higher education institutions. In Germany, we have about 380. So if many of these Indian institutions are looking for partners in Germany, it will be difficult to find one for all of them.
Yeah, and I think very often it stems from an individual connect,
Yeah.
from a researcher or somebody who did research or did an experience in that specific German university, carries back the contact, and then from there it starts. So I think one has to have a personal connect in a way, and then the good message. But I think the good message is wherever I travel in India and all the Indian institutions, I find German alumni. So somebody who did either a PhD, a postdoc in Germany, and now is teaching in a college or university. But I think one could use these contacts and connects already, and it stems very often from a personal contact, and then from there a nice cooperation could develop step by step.
And internationalization strategies can provide a good hint of of the focus of the German institutions. So mostly, or in many cases, they can be found on the websites, but of course that requires a lot of research work. So if you have a look at the internationalization strategy of the German university, you may find some connecting points which are helpful to establish a first link.
Yeah, I think our hour is nearly gone. We see from the discussion that there's a lot of things to be discussed, and such an easy thing to be said, let's do a double joint degree, is very complicated to realize. Now, if we look at the publication, and I just wanted, Chika, is my screen visible, I hope?
Yes, Katja, it is.
Yes, I just wanted to draw the attention. We did not manage to discuss everything, but what the publication offers you is an overview on higher education in India and Germany. We discussed models of cooperation, challenges, barriers, and hurdles. And I think really useful at the website, you find also some template contracts, some which were provided by Indian and German university models of contracts to be used. So it's quite useful to look those up so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And we also provide an overview on the useful web links, so all the databases we've mentioned in the web talk and so on, you can find in the publication, which can you download also from here, or you go to this to our website of DAAD India, where you can navigate yourself through the publication. The Our panelists today are only a part of the author team. I would really like to highlight, we worked with a team of 15 people from different institutions, and my thanks goes to all the authors who contributed in the discussions and who contributed in writing, in giving their viewpoints and feeding in their experiences on these models of cooperation. So big and huge thanks to the 15 authors of the publication. Now our web talk comes slowly to an end. I would like to close maybe and would like to ask our 4 panelists to give a 1-minute statement at the end. So what is your most important advice to the audience who is looking for setting up a structured exchange program? And maybe we start with IIT Roki. Ravikant, over to you.
Thank you. So one of the most important things which I find is find a willing partner. So if they are willing, if there is a will, there is a way. So first you find a willing partner, then you will find solutions, problems, there is friendliness and discussions. So everything can be solved by discussions, and we can find way. Of course, there are things which you can't change, but if there are some small hurdles that can be overcome by friendliness or discussions. So find a willing partner, and then the rest will follow.
Good. And maybe Solen, over to you, to Hanover.
Actually, I wanted to say exactly the same as Ravikant. It's really, don't be afraid of the hurdle that could happen. If partner want to do it, we'll find a way. It could take time, but yeah, there is always a way to do the cooperation.
Manish?
Yeah, I wanted to use a filmy dialogue, but I'll be straight. I'll say that often we have, this is I'm saying on the basis of my long interaction with German institutions as well as being in India. Indian institutions may also think that they would look for ABC country and YZ institutions. Similarly, German institutions may think that we have so many other European institutions and elsewhere. I'll say that besides them, sometimes we find light where we expect it least. So it's good to open new arenas besides having hit films. So also some art films or a different kind of script and openness to that also then brings a diversity to our own institutional collaborations.
Thank you, Manish. And that leads us back to Germany. Susanne, over to you.
Thank you. I would say that setting up a cooperation in the Indo-German context is very challenging, and I know what I am talking about. But we have set up, over the years, we have set up many cooperations with different institutions, different types of institutions in India. And I have to say it is worth the effort and worth the work because as Katja already mentioned earlier, the links, the friendships that you gain are definitely worth the effort and the work. So go for it.
Okay, good. This is, I think, very good news, and good that the enthusiasm is still on.
I just add one thing, especially for our Indian partners. Besides, I think in comparison to the kind of competitiveness which is entering North America and England in terms of ranking and everything else, in comparison, the extent of public funding which is there in Germany and the work environment that you see, I think in terms of not only student exchanges and faculty exchanges, these are also good for us to move beyond our known territories and to think about institutional autonomy and fashioning public education. So I think in those respects also, these are not about research projects alone, but also in terms of alternative imaginations of institutions and cooperation. It would be good to look at both for German for Indian partners to look at German institutions.
Good. Thanks for that, Manish. So that leads us to the end of the discussion of today. We will provide the links to the website and the paper to all the participants afterwards. Take care of that. There was a question with regard to Bangladesh, so the publication focuses on India. That was a challenge enough. Maybe we picked it up with Bangladesh a bit later, but this is a publication focusing on India and Germany, as we try to bring the two systems closer together. And we've already seen that the legal challenges are there. So to write a publication for 4 countries or 5 would have been a bit too much at this stage. So we hope that the publication is useful to everybody. If you see something, if you would like to have more information, please share your feedback. We will work on the publication further. I would also like to highlight that we as DAAD are running regular conferences like the International Higher Education Dialogue, where we discuss topics of internationalization. We are preparing for the moment for the next year. We are running workshops in internationalization, so there's a lot of opportunity to connect and to discuss these things further. So my thanks goes today to the audience. My thanks goes today to the panel, and once again to the author team of the publication. And last but not least, also my colleague Shikha Sinha, who coordinated the whole project and holds all the people together and push them so that we could finally finish the publication. With that, I say goodbye to Germany, Susanna and Solen, to Delhi, Manish, and to Robi, Ravikant, and yeah, please feel to the audience to touch base with us and to discuss this topic further. And I wish you all a nice rest of the day or a nice evening ahead if you are based in India. So thanks again and goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.